Hey everybody, Sam Webb back again with part 3 of my Shopify Theme Build series. Today we'll be building the featured product section. So let's get started. Before we write any code, we first want to get a bit of a loose plan in place. And this plan can change as we start writing code, but we want to get a general idea of the direction that we're going to go in. So let's talk visually first. So what I want to have is, it's going to be a title that's going to be the title of this group of products. I want to have 4 products side by side on desktop, and on a mobile it might be 2 by 2 or it might be 1 by 1. For each product tile, I want to have a product image, and maybe we'll have a bit of a hover effect to where it switches to another image on hover. We want the product title and we want the price. And that's pretty much all that I want to add to these tiles at the moment. I want to keep it pretty simple. So now the question is, how do I want to do that? The idea that I have, there are a lot of ways to do this, but the idea that I have right now is that I want to use a collection, a curated collection. So you would pick 4 products or more products. You'd put them in this collection, and then this feature would pull the first 4 products to display. And so that's why I have the collection object for Shopify open here, and I'm going to link this in the description, but this will show you everything that you can do with the collection object. The main thing that we're looking for here is going to be collection.products and collection.title. So .title is what we're going to use to show that name of these 4 products that I mentioned. And so we're going to use the collection name for that, or the collection title for that, and then we're going to have to loop over the collection products. And when we loop over those collection products, within that loop, we're going to have the product object, which is here, and again we're going to need the product.featuredImage. We're probably going to need product.images to grab the second image in there. We're going to need product.price, and then we're going to need the product title. Now that we have our loose plan in place, let's get started with actually writing some code. So the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to run a yarn start. All right, so we need to come in here, and we go into source, and the first file that we're going to create is going to be the section. Let's hop into sections. And similar to the last video, right, to the hero, we want this to be a dynamic section. Now, you don't have to memorize how to create a dynamic section. Over time, you'll end up memorizing it as you do more and more. But at the beginning, there's no point in memorizing it. You can just kind of copy all this, paste it in here, and just keep the things that you want to keep. So we're not going to need that render hero, and most of these settings we're not going to need, or all these settings we won't need. And as we discussed in our plan, we're going to need a collection, which that collection is going to be kind of the parent of this entire feature. All right, so let's go type collection ID collection label collection. All right, just as just to give a quick re-explanation of this, the type is an actual type of setting that you can create in Shopify. It's going to give you a way to select a collection. The ID is what we're going to use to identify this in the code, and label is how it's going to show up to the end user, or the end admin user. And then up here we want to create a section tag. This is where all the HTML section tag to kind of wrap all this in. And then we're going to have 2 sub tags within that, 2 kind of primary sub tags. One's going to be the heading, and one's going to be the wrapper around the items. And we're going to want a for loop. For product in, let's say, I think it's just collections. Collections, and then we're going to say section.settings.collection. And in here is where we're gonna put these different products. But for now, what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to do a p tag just so we can kind of get something shown on the screen. All right, and so now if we hop back into the site, and I'm already in customized, so let me refresh the page. We'll add a section, and it's called Hero. So let's go back and make sure that we fix everything. So this is going to be called Featured Products. It's going to be called Featured Products down here as well. And this isn't an image with text. This is going to be products display. That's a good name for it. Now if we come back and refresh the page again, hit add section, we got products display and then featured products here. So let's add the section, and you see that now we have this collection field and we can select one of these collections. Before I select one, what I want to do is I want to make a collection. So for now I'll just save this and hop out. I'm gonna hop into products, collection, and now we're going to make our curated collection. And so remember, this name is going to be what shows up as the actual title. So for now, let's just call it Featured Products. And we're going to make this manual and then save. And when you make a collection manual, you have to save it before you can actually select products. And now let's just browse our products. So let's put the joggers in there. Let's put the UR shirt in there. Let's put both of these in there. So now we've got 4 products in this collection. When you add products, it automatically saves, so you don't have to worry about hitting the save button. If we go back to edit this theme again, we select that collection, save it. Let's move it in between these 2 hero sections. And I forgot to put products here, .products. Now if we come back, we should have the list. There we go. So we've got the list of product titles there. So now I want to hop back over here and just update this to be collection.title. So we can get rid of this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a snippet, a product tile. And this snippet is going to be used anywhere on the site where we need to display a product tile. So this is going to be a general purpose kind of across the site snippet. And we're basically just going to pass in the product to it. Now with render, and I'll link this documentation as well, but with render, you're actually able to do your for loop within the render tag. And so if I scroll down far enough, here it is. So the for parameter. And so I'm going to show you both ways, kind of the way you might do this, in because there are some scenarios where this might not be as beneficial, but right now we're in kind of the perfect scenario for this. And so originally you would do this. You would do a for loop, and then you'd say product tile or render product tile with, and again, I've mentioned this before, but I prefer using with the curlies just for readability. And then you'd say product, right? And that's the way you would have done it in the old, in kind of prior to the render tag, right? It would have been include here. And this is how you would have done this. Now, if we look back at the documentation, you see that we can just run the for right inside of the render, right? So we do that. Let's say render product tile for collections top products as product, right? And we get rid of this. And You know, the structure is a little weird. It's a little weird reading it sometimes, but I'll save that. And in here, I'll say P. I'll do H1 this time just to make it obvious. You see that now we've got these big, these big H1s. And I also noticed that I forgot to kind of do this entire section, that settings, that collection up here. And now we should see that title come back. Right, so this file is done at this point. So featured products file is done. So we can move on from that. And now we need to figure out the structure of this product tile. And we're gonna say div product tile. And we're gonna do this for now. We're gonna make it really simple. Right? We're gonna make an image. Equals product dot featured image. This alt is gonna be product dot featured. And then we're gonna have a div let's just call it product tile info. And we're gonna have an H3. And a span for the price. Right. Hey guys, I just wanted to hop in really quickly and explain something. You see me use this pipe right here and something after it a lot. So I do it with images when we do the img underscore URL, and I'm also doing it here with price and putting money. And I just want to point out that this is called a filter in Shopify. And so you can take some sort of object or string, and then you can run a filter on it. This time, in this case, I'm running the money filter on it, and it takes this this price, which is in cents, and converts it to in this case US dollars. It'll convert it to whatever your currency is on your site. Mine is in US dollars. And so I just wanted to quickly hop in and explain that. Swing back over here. And so we've got the product image, we've got the title, and we've got the price. So now it's just CSS. So let's close this liquid and hop into styles, hop into components, and we're gonna make a product tile component in theme. We're gonna import that. One of the things I like to do is I like to put all of my, so I don't like to flip back and forth between files too much. And so I like to grab all of my classes and just put them in here ahead of time. Right? But we also need to worry about the section itself, featured products. So featured products is going to be a different component. And that's it there. So we can close that, we can close theme, we can close product tile. The first thing I want to do is I want to get these elements aligned with each other. So I'm going to use this, I'm going to use flex for this feature. Display flex. We're going to say align items flex start. This is the default, so you don't really have to do that. I just like to be explicit with these types of things. And then justify content center. And then within there, we're actually going to grab this product tiles. And we're going to say margin right, 15 pixels. Margin left, 15 pixels. And this is going to space them out. So if we look at the front end, we'll see that they're all next to each other, and they're all kind of massive right now. So we're also going to set the width on these. And I like to do things alphabetically. Width, we're going to say, let's say 23%. And so now you see that all four fit on the page, except the images are still overly sized. So that's going to be, accidentally type that A, that's going to be within here. So we're going to say max width 100%, which that'll prevent it from extending out past the size of the container. And so now we've got these four products lined up next to each other. Now let's get back to actually the featured product section first, and then we'll come back to the product tiles themselves. So featured products is going to have a max width of 1200 pixels, and then we want it to stay centered on the page, and so we're going to say margin left auto, margin right auto. There's still some padding on here. Padding bottom is going to be 50 pixels. 50 pixels. Now I'm only going to do for this video, I'm going to do the desktop sizes, and after this video I'm going to do all my media queries so that it's good for mobile and desktop. But for now I just want to kind of give you some quick CSS. So we've got the padding, we've got that set up. And then in feature items, I also want to, for this product tile, I also want to say first child and this is going to get rid of like the extra margin on the left and right of the page. And so if we're looking at it right now, you see that the F isn't lined up with this first tile, and that's because that margin that's to the left of it, and now that is gone after refreshing the page. So now we want to add a little bit of space below the headings. Let's say margin bottom, and let's call it 25 pixels. And refresh that. That looks like enough space. Info, display flex, product tile, set 18 pixels, and price. And let's see how this works with the title left aligned and the price right aligned. I think I'd rather it be, so let's do a display block on this. Margin bottom of 10 pixels. And then align items, flex, start. One thing that I left out is we have this all visually laid out, and the last thing we actually need is to wrap these in an A, just so that we can link it to the product page, right? And so let's go back to product tile, and we can change this div to an A and say href. I'm gonna have to change some styling because it's gonna start, it might automatically underline things and change things to blue. But product dot, I think it's URL. Let's have a look at the product object. Go hit back a few times on this. Yep, product.url. So we've got product.url in there. If I refresh that. Now if I click these, it'll take me, if you look all the way in the bottom left there, you can see where it's showing the different product pages that it'll take me to. And let's fix up these colors and make these colors that gray. And that's it. That's all you need to build a featured product section. Again, you can do whatever CSS you want to make it look however you want. You can add more information to these if you want to. I'm gonna go back and make a few updates because there are some things that I want to do with this, and I'll come back and show you those updates after. All right, so this is the completed section. Now it doesn't look that much different. There's some different spacing. Things are a little bit larger, and what I did was the mobile and tablet changes, but I also added a hover effect. If you hover over an image, let's say I hover over this first one and the second one, you see that nothing's happening. But if I hover over this third one, I get a second image, and also on this fourth one. And so what I've done here is, if a product has a second image, then there'll be a hover state to where it shows that second image. If it doesn't have one, then it just won't do anything. I've also changed it to where on mobile, it's a one by one grid. And then if we go up to tablets, it would be 2 by 2 grid. And so let me show you let's get back out of that. Let me show you the code changes. So there weren't any changes to featured products, so we can close that. Product tile did have some changes. So this one had, it's got a little bit of liquid here to where we figure out if there is a second image, and if there is, we add this class that's product tile that has second image, and we also add a background image to this new wrapper around the image. All right, so the principle here is that we're gonna load this background image, and then we're gonna load this product image right here, and the product image is always going to sit on top of that background image, so you won't be able to see it. And then when you hover over it, we change the opacity of the image to 0, which shows the background image of the wrapper. Right, and then that's all that changed in here. I want to really quickly hop into variables and mixins. So what I did was I created a mixin called MQ, which is a min width media query, and you're going to see that being used in the code. And then I added a few variables for different screen sizes that I want to target, and some different colors that I want to use. And then within these two CSS files, featured products and product tile, there are a bunch of changes. I updated the width, the max width to be 1440 instead of 1200. There's some padding changes, and this is where you can see a mixture of that MQ mixin being used along with the screen large variable. So basically, the default is going to be 50 pixels of padding top and bottom, and 20 pixels left and right of padding. But when the screen goes over this screen large media query, which is 992 pixels, then it will change the padding top and bottom to be 75 and the padding left and right to be 50, just a little bit larger. And so I'm going to scroll down. I'm not going to explain everything in here. I'm just going to scroll down, let you see the changes that were made. And we're going to hop in a product tile. And this is where you see this has second image, and then on hover of that, we grab product tile image and we change the opacity to 0. So that's where there are a lot of ways of doing this. You could have 2 images and you have one positioned absolute, and you can add a class that like hides and shows and do some JavaScript. But this was the at least for this video, this is the simplest way to do this. Yeah, there weren't many changes. There were some slight changes, but there weren't many changes to the product tile besides that. And that's it. So if you like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.